Hello, hi everyone. Welcome back to APU live seminar session now. So it's me again. So for those who first time joining us on this postgraduate seminar, my name is Long from Asia Pacific University of Technology and Innovation, APU. I'm your host for today. So this series of live seminar talks actually covering various topics of postgraduate, which touching on different fields, like for example, finance, AI, data science, MBA. So if let's say you have missed our 2 p.m. session just now, always feel free to watch the replay at our Facebook page and YouTube channel. So I would like to invite you to come to our campus as well for our APU Open Day today and tomorrow from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Our counselors are ready to guide you through all the pathways available for your further study. All right. So for more information and updates, please visit to our website at www.apu.edu.my and follow our Facebook page. So without further ado, let us explore the Master of Finance, Fintech. So welcome, Professor Nafis.
Good evening, Long. Thank you.
Yep. Over to you, Dr. Nafis.
Thank you, Long. Can you see the slide?
Yes, can.
Can you see the slide? All okay?
Yes, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, can. No problem.
Thank you for giving me this platform to speak. Good evening, everyone. It's a wet evening in Kuala Lumpur. I believe some of you might be joining us from the outside of Malaysia as well. So, good morning to some of you, and maybe good evening to some of you as well. Uh, we are going to talk about a very interesting topic, and I will be sharing some of the insight about what's happening in the financial world, and then I will tie up with our master's offering, which is a Master of Finance in Fintech Specialism. So I think we are seeing a double onslaught on the financial services sector. One coming from the big techs, the technology firm, and the second one coming is the automation of the financial services. There has been a lot of hue and cry that financial services are going to be completely automated. There will be only robots working in that, and there are a lot of articles. In fact, I wrote about this theme 4 years ago, and I think now it is becoming a reality. A lot of jobs are getting replaced by the robots, or the activities or the services are getting automated, which are reducing the number of manpower in the financial services. But that's not the end of the world. It all depends on what type of skills and what type of capabilities human has to offer to the financial services. Always remember, the whole world is driven by the by the human themselves. All this development which we have seen, even the development in the technology, has been brought about by the human power. So even though robots are expected to take over, or AI is going to completely transform the financial services, human are here to stay. And that's why we need to look at what's happening in terms of the requirement of the institutions offering financial services. What are the skills needed by the future graduates who are coming to work in the financial services? And that's very important. So I will try to give you some insight on what is fintech, and then later on I will move on to see that how the traditional financial services is getting transformed with the advent of the technology, as well as the onslaught coming from the big technology firms. At the same time, how the jobs will be different. Definitely the jobs are not going to be similar what we used to see 10 years ago in the financial services. Is going to be very much different. It's already happening. The type of job or the requirement in the services is completely changing how the accountant, bankers, as well as the finance specialists are behaving in the financial world. And finally, I will also touch a bit upon what APU has to offer in that domain. Now, one thing which you would have noticed much before the COVID-19, that people have stopped visiting branches. It's not because the COVID has happened and most of the countries were in the lockdown, and that's why you do not have an opportunity to visit the bank branches. Not really. If you look into the particular graph which I have shared with you, this is the study done in 2019, much before even the COVID struck us. And if you see that almost two-thirds of the population are either not visiting the bank branches, or they are only going once in a month. I don't know about you guys how frequent you visit the bank branches, but I give you a very simple example. I have not been to the bank branch for almost close to 1 year now. In fact, more than 15 months, even before the COVID struck. The only time I have been to the bank, because I'm a foreigner in Malaysia, and if I have to update my document details, my personal details, I have to go and visit the branch. So I remember going one time when I changed my passport and I have to update the passport detail at the counter. That's the only time I visited. It's not like we are saying that the bank branches are becoming irrelevant. Not the case, but it's all happening that why people would love to go to the bank branches or why they should not be going to the bank branches. In fact, the reason why people are not visiting bank branches because everything can be done with the tip of your with your smartphone, with your desktop computer, with your laptop, with your iPad, and all those gadgets we can talk about. You can fulfill all the financial services without even visiting the bank branches. And that's a lot of things to say that not only the bank branches, we can even complete our financial activities without having a bank account. I know many people out here in Malaysia who do not have any bank account, but they might have a lot of wallet. They might have a lot of debit card which are not linked to any bank account. I don't know how many of you have heard about a company called Big Pay. Big Pay doesn't have any branch. Big Pay is not a bank, but Big Pay offered you a debit card which you can use as any normal bank card, and you can do all your transactions. At the same time, with the use of the e-wallet or with the use of the digital payment channels, you can pay for all your utilities, you can do all your services, you can transfer money using your online services, you can receive money, you can pay for your bills, you can invest. Whatever you can do without visiting the bank branches. And that's how the technology is transforming the overall banking services. Now, one thing which has become a very popular in the financial world is something called fintech. Now, fintech is not a new concept. This is the biggest myth about fintech, that people think fintech is a very new concept. Not. Fintech is almost close to 30 years old. The first time the word fintech was coined was in 1992, and you will be surprised it was not coined by any financial companies. It was coined by a technology firm, which you might all of you have heard of it. It was by Cisco system. So financial technology or fintech is nothing but a combination of two words, finance and technology. So the application of technology into the financial services is commonly known as fintech. Now, fintech is transforming the overall financial services. Every segment of the financial services is getting transformed. If you are working, if you are using financial services, and if you have not heard about fintech, basically you might be considered an alien to the human civilization, because if you are dealing with finance and if you don't know what is fintech or how does the fintech impact your financial activities, then people will consider an outlier. So just to tell you, this fintech is I teach this as a module over a 14 weeks period, which is close to 42 hours. But I think I was given a 30 minutes to explain this thing, and I will be quickly rushing through it. But let me explain to you in a very common layman term what is fintech. Now, fintech cut across all the verticals of the financial services. The biggest impact is on the payment industry. Payment industry is where we are going to pay for all our utilities. We are going to do for payment for all our e-commerce activities, any type of buying and selling. And if we require to do the payment, we are doing through the different channels. Now, payment has been a very traditional way of paying it via the banking services. For example, if you have to pay for your utility bill, or if you want to buy something, you have to use your banking account. But now you don't need a bank account. You can either go through and do it via e-wallet. I think most of you would have at least one e-wallet in your smartphone at the moment. For my case, I have a couple of them. I have Grab, I have Touch and Go, I have Boost in my smartphone. And these are the common one I'm talking from the Malaysian perspective. And that is also going to be a common thing across the world as well. Now, payment is not only related to paying for your utilities or paying for your services. It can be also related to, paying for anything which you are going to buy. Even for example, if you're going to pay for your monthly installment. You don't have to really go to the bank. In fact, nowadays, last year banks started charging a small amount of fee if you want to pay for your services over the bank counter. That was just to reduce the amount of human interaction at the counters and try to make things automated. You can even pay for your utilities, or you can buy goods using cryptos, for example. You don't even need a physical currency. So payment is going cashless, payment is going contactless, and payment is going virtual. So that's the biggest impact of the fintech coming to it. The second area which is important to talk about in fintech is investment. Investment has always been a very human centered services provided by the financial industry. If you can talk to your parents or grandparents, you can think that they will mention to you that if they wanted to invest, they have to sit down with the wealth advisor, they have to sit down with the financial advisor, and they will give you different options, whether you want to invest into equities, whether you want to invest into bonds, commodities, currencies, real estate, and so on. Now investment has completely gone automated, and especially for the high net worth individuals. You have robo advisory. I don't know how many of you have heard about Stashaway or Robinhood, for example. They do not have anything with where you need human. They give you a certain type of questions, and they are able to evaluate in what risk category and what return category you will fall into, and based on your risk and return preference, you will get multiple advice and multiple options to invest into different type of financial asset, which can range for commodities, currencies, asset, digital currencies, and so on. Even insurance is getting transformed. For example, insurance is also very a traditional type of industry, where you will sit down with the insurance agent, and they will advise you why you should be taking a housing insurance, or why you should be having a health insurance and life insurance, and so on. Nowadays, you can choose what type of insurance you need. Even, for example, if you need to put into the if you need to choose between different insurance provider, that's very simple to do that. You can have multiple options available online, and you can choose which is based on your requirement. If you do you need a cheaper insurance coverage, do you need a covering for a higher insurance premium, and so on. So again, insurance industry is also getting, and that can also lead to the amount of premium you're going to pay. If you fall into a category where you have less number of chances of having any damages to your property or to your car, you might end up paying a lower amount of premium compared to your higher amount of premium. So for example, why we should be paying a high amount of premium if you fall into a lower risk category? This all started to happen because of one important thing, which is the big data. Now data is the heart and soul of the tech industry. Whatever we are doing online, we are leaving a digital footprint, not only in the financial services industry, but anywhere. For example, right now we are using a computer, we are using a platform called StreamYard, and most of you would have used Zoom or Teams or Google Hangout to discuss during this pandemic period of time. Whenever you are using an internet, you are leaving a digital footprint, and these digital footprint can be converted into some form of information, and that can be considered as a big data. So everything what's happening around you is determined by the data which you are leaving. For example, right now all of us are bounded to use My Sejatra application, and when we go and checking, we are leaving lot of data for that. For example, even we are going and recording our location, for example, that can determine which type of services I'm going to buy, where do I shop, and what is the amount of money I will be spending. So I am leaving lot of digital footprint, which will help the financial industries to design the product, to sell the product as per my need and requirement. So everything what we do is based on our own individual behavior. And last time we would have certain level of questions asked by the agents or by the wealth advisor based on our preference, and they will make a decision. Nowadays we don't need any human wealth advisor to do that, because based on our purchasing behavior, based on our spending behavior, based on our investment behavior, any robo advisory can make a decision that whether we fall into a higher risk category or lower risk category. We need a balanced investment, or we need a high return investment, and so on. Finally, I can also zoom into the financing. Initially, financing has been very much traditionally focused on the banks. Whenever you need a loan, whether it's a car loan, whether it's a housing loan, whether it's a personal loan, whether it's a business loan, corporate loan, you need to go to the bank. You need to show them some type of collateral. You need to look into the whether you fall into a high risk customer or lower risk customer. That will determine whether they are going to give you a lower rate of financing or higher rate of financing. Now financing has transformed. We are now going into something called crowdfunding. We are going into P2P, peer-to-peer financing, where we don't need banks. In fact, if you need a loan, you can create your own crowdfunding platform. You can put your ideas, and there will be a lot of venture capitalist investors, angel investors who will be interested in your ideas, and they can fund your project. And then later on, you can look into the return and risk sharing with those investors. So now financing is also not dependent on the bank. Now this whole activity which I just explained to you, one thing which I keep on talking about is the transformation of the traditional banking providers. Now all the companies which I have listed here, whether it's a Lending Club, Robinhood, Lemonade, Hekile, Kensho, Wealthfront, all of them are not traditional banks. They are emerging startups in the fintech domain, and they are transforming the overall financial services. So you can see that banks' importance in the market is going down. I'm not saying that banks will die, because banks will never die. I will talk about it in a bit how banks have the advantage compared to the fintech. But what's happening here, that in order for bank to compete with these platforms, bank also have to adapt to this technology, and also bank need people or personal people like you who are graduating in the finance, or who are pursuing, or who are already graduated, further need to reskill their knowledge, need the skills and technology know-how which will be beneficial for the bank, so they are able to compete with these emerging startups. So it becomes very important. It all comes down to the right individual who are going to serve the purpose of the bank, to make them relevant and to make them compete with the fintech startup. So that's very important to look into that. Again, I will give you some statistics, because that was the concept driven slide, but this one will tell you that how the industry is growing. We can just say that fintech is a fad. No, fintech is not a fad. Fintech is a reality, and fintech is gaining traction in the market. If you look into that PwC 2019 report, it mentioned that in the 82% of the traditional financial companies, when I say traditional financial companies, it includes all the banks, it includes all the investment companies, it includes all the retail services in the banking sector, and so on. They need to collaborate in order to survive. It's all going to be the survival of the fittest. If the banks are not going to transform themselves, if they're not going to collaborate with the fintech platform, they are going to be the loser in the long run. If you look into this region, for example, the Asia Pacific, one of the biggest growing area in the Asia Pacific in the world is the Asia Pacific. You know why? Because India, China, and the Southeast Asia are the region where there is a big impetus for the growth of the fintech industry. And this is the industry where the fintech industry is growing. The amount of investment is very huge. Last year itself it was around 72 billion in the industry. And if you look into all the companies which are working into the financial sector are also going into the blockchain. I didn't talk about blockchain in detail, but just to give you an idea, it's a distributed ledger where all the parties involved in dealing with a financial transaction are able to see each and every step. The information is transparent. The information is available to all the stakeholders at a given point of time in the real time basis. For example, in the early days when a company used to procure raw materials from China, for example, they have to use a letter of credit. They have to send it to the supplier, and then they will issue they will sell they will ship the product from the China, and then you will get the notification that the product has arrived at the port, and you can go for custom clearance, and you will get that. Now all these things are going to be put into blockchain. What happens there that you can track each and every step of it, and every individual, every stakeholder, for example the insurer, example the banks, the supplier, the receiver, the user, even the port authority, and even the logistic company, all will be part of this network, and they can track the information on real time. So there is no hidden information, there is a node, there is a distributed ledger, and it's going to be working on a smart contract where all the party who are signatory to a smart contract will be able to get the information on the real time basis. Blockchain is not easy. It depends on the nature of the services which we are going to put onto a network, onto the nodes, and how we are going to use it. So again, the financial sector company, especially in terms of the remittance, in terms of the global money transfer, blockchain is becoming a big application in the financial services industry. So you can see that most of the companies, the traditional financial companies, are going to adopt the technology. There is no chance, In fact, I was reading an article just an hour ago about how the legacy banking system, the legacy IT system has to be transformed, because most of the banks, the core banking solution or the retail banking solutions are using the legacy system which has not been updated in the last 10 years. And if they have to use, and in fact the cyber security is becoming a big concern, if the legacy system, the legacy IT system is not getting the upgrade, or they're not using the recent technology, they are going to be more prone to the cyber attacks, and that can cause a lot of damages to the financial services industry. In Malaysia also the things are not too different. Malaysia is home to close to around 200 fintech 200 fintech startups. In the globally is around 12,000 startups, in the world, which is again I have to be cautious here. There are number of fintech startups, but not all of them are successful. But there are around close to 10% of the fintech startup which are already a unicorn. Unicorn means they have a valuation more than 1 billion. If you look into the Malaysian market, for example, the things are not different. Payments industry still dominates that. Wallet is the second biggest player, and cryptocurrency is gaining a lot of impetus, especially after the Luno. I think many of you would heard about Luno. Luno is a regulated crypto exchange which has been licensed by the Security Commission in Malaysia. So if you want to buy and sell into Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies, you can go through the Luno, and you can see other areas as well. The crowdfunding, investment, KYC is also getting important. I think I'm running out of time, but I think I've given you a clear picture of what's happening in the fintech industry. This is also a very important thing to show to you that fintech is really revolutionizing the banking and finance. A very simple example to make you understand why people will not be going to the banks and why they will be choosing the competitors, the neobanks, the challenger banks. I don't know how many of you have heard about the neobanks like Revolut, Monzo, Starling, Shine, N26. These are the neobanks, challenger banks. When we call challenger banks, means they do not have any banking history. They do not even have any physical branch. They do everything on cloud. They are branchless banking, and they are gaining traction across the world. In Malaysia, we are yet to see the digital banking or the challenger bank, but Bank Negara has already initiated the documents, and most probably by next year, Malaysia will be also home to digital banks, which will be the branchless banks in the country. Now, very simple example: if somebody in the UK want to open a bank branch via online or going to the counter. For example, if they want to open a bank branch using online tools, using the online banking channel, in HSBC you need 99 clicks. 99 clicks. Even if you're very very fast in clicking, you at least need 10 minutes or so to submit your documents and to apply for a new bank account. But things have changed now. If you want to start a bank account with Revolut or Starling, you need only 24 or 30 clicks, which is almost one third or one fourth of the HSBC. HSBC is a global banking giant. So you can see that how slow or how far the traditional bank players are compared to the challenger banks. It's all come down to you guys, to us, because we are customer. We all have, in a very fast moving world, and we don't want to wait or spend time, submitting our document or going to the counter and submit and do our financial transaction. It's a very simple example that you can save almost 1/4 of the time, and you can do the financial activity using the challenger bank. Even for example, if you want to go and submit a document on counter, how many days it will take? HSBC can take almost close to 36 days. And this is a global, this is the UK data, has been done nationwide in the UK. And the things are not much different from the rest of the world. So again, bank has to wake up. Bank has to automate. Bank has to make sure that the people are not leaving banks and going to these traditional players. I'm not saying that banks are not aware of this. Banks are aware of this, and that's why banks are also getting proactive, and banks are taking actions which are trying to reduce the competition for them. Now again, fintech is a huge world. I shown you in the previous slide. Globally, we have over 12 to 15,000. If you look into very small ones, it will be around 15,000 of a platform, and they can be divided into different verticals, which I explained to you earlier. It can be an advisory, it can be on the technology, regulation technology providers, it can be software for digital banking, payment, alternative finance like P2P, crowdfunding. You can also have insurance technology firms. You can have blockchain, cryptocurrencies, as well as your digital onboarding solution providers in the market. So there can be a huge amount of that. One thing I want to talk about is that I call it is the ABCD of the technology trend in the financial services. Why? And this is going to be the mantra for the financial services industry. Because if you do not know the ABCD of technology trend in financial industry, you will be obsolete to work or to continue working in the financial services industry. When I talk about A is all about artificial intelligence. Is getting in the machines are getting intelligent. What the banks are doing, instead of going through a lot of document review to see that whether you will be a good paymaster, whether you should be getting a loan or not, things are getting automated. Using your credit profile, using the data which you don't know that you have provided, but your data are available with your transaction, whether you have enough amount of money, whether you'll be a good paymaster or not. The AI-based decision-making system can determine whether you should be getting a loan, whether you should be getting a credit card or not. So most of the crunching of the data and coming up with some type of predictive modeling, as well as a decision making rules, even for the risk management will again, whether to embark on this type of investment or not. Is it going to be risky for the banks, for example? Now we are dependent too much on crunching these. I'm not saying that this is going to be 100% proof, but most of the AI based output are going to be 98 to 99% sure. The reason behind that, because we have lot of data. The higher the volume of the data, the better the output will be, and the best decision making will come out of it. So knowing about artificial intelligence applications into the financial services industry is very going to be example. I'm not telling that you have to become a programmer or you have to become a developer in that sense. I'm talking about understanding the output, the purpose of looking at the AI driven decision making, and how it can help the banks to minimize their risk and maximize their potential of profitability. B stands for blockchain, which I talked about earlier. Everything is going to be about security. We all are very much concerned that our data should not be leaked. We also want to know that we are not being disadvantaged by not having the full information. We are able to see all that, and that's why one of the thing happening in the cryptocurrency world, because in cryptocurrency world, every people who are part of the node, who are mining these cryptos, will be able to see what's happening on the blocks. So the data, the transactions are captured and available to the people who are expected, who are authorized to see the information. Most of the time, what happens in the traditional form, that if you provide your data to the bank, in fact you yourself cannot request. I don't know how many of you, if for example, if I go and tell bank I need my three month statement for some loan purpose, they say, Why you need that? That's my own data, that's my own transaction, and I have all the right to ask for my details. But and with the use of the blockchains, I will be able to see where banks are investing my money and how does the information is coming to me, or how does the profit is being distributed among the stakeholders. So the blockchain is going to make the things more transparent, going to be more secured, and that is going to revolutionize all the financial activity. C is about cloud computing. I think many of us have seen that with the MCO in place in the lockdown, we have been dependent on the cloud. All of our information, I don't know how many of you have not been to your offices physically, but when we don't visit physically the office, we have to access information, access the documents. The same goes to the bank, and banks are becoming borderless. And when you have transactions to do borderless transaction, you need to look into the information on the cloud. That's going to save a lot of money. It's going to make secure information because you do not have the chance of manual theft of the data, or to the loss of fire, or to the loss of damages, to the loss of flood, or any natural calamities. The information is going to be on cloud. The other thing is that we are also looking into that how we are going to process the information faster. If the information is on cloud, and if we are using the cloud computing technologies, we are able to process the data from anywhere and on a faster basis. And the D stands for data analytics. We keep on talking about the big data. That's going to be the heart of the financial services. Data is everywhere, but it all depends on how do we analyze the data. Data can be structured, data can be unstructured. So the data analyst jobs are going to look into how do we convert these unstructured data into meaningful data, use the data analysis tools, and convert those data analysis into meaningful information for the stakeholders. So I'm not again saying that people who are not actuaries in the banks, people who are finance professionals need to know the know-how of the data analytics. Last time we did not focus much on the data analytics as part of the finance degrees, but now as a part of the finance degree, we need to have the data science, we need to have the big data analytics tools, and that's why it has become very important. So if you are going to work in the financial services industry, or if you're already working in that, make sure you understand the A, B, C, and D of the technology trend in the financial services industry. I think we have already talked about this, but just again to recap, banks are going to become branchless. They are going to be omni-channel. Omni-channel means one-stop solution. One channel will be able to provide all the services what we need. When we have the branchless banking, we are also talking about the open banking. Open banking means you can take your own data and you can do multiple services from multiple banks. You don't have to do everything with one bank. Maybe, for example, for your saving, you can have Maybank. For your investment, you can have public bank. For your financing, you can have CIMB, and so on. So open banking is again going to revolutionize. Again, Malaysia is yet to see that, but open banking is already a reality, and banking is becoming like a service model. You use bank as service. What type of service you can provide to me? So customer will be the king, not the bank. You don't have to go and plead to the bank, I need financing. You don't want to go and plead to the bank, give me a high return on my investment. Banks will be coming to you and say that, oh, you are a good customer, you have been maintaining a good relationship, you should be getting a cheaper financing, or you should be getting a higher return on your investment. So that is going to be the future of the financial services, and that's what's happening with the fintech, how it is transforming the industry in general. One thing which I want to emphasize on that most of you who are listening to me are looking for to enhance your career in terms of your master qualification. It's always not come back to the knowledge or the concept which you learn in your undergraduate degree. You are going to go beyond that. Employers are no more looking into your transcript, looking at whether you are a A-star student or whether you are D student. It all comes down to the skill set which the employers are looking for, and I'm going to highlight the three important skill set which is needed for the future finance professional, those who are working or those who are going to embark. And employers have all the tools to test this. So you can't go back and say that I have graduated from Harvard, for example, and I have my Harvard qualification or MIT's or Oxbridge qualification, but the the employer will still have their own analysis of your capabilities, of your traits, or the skill set which they are looking to fulfill the lab requirement. So whoever is listening to me, whether you still decide to join us in your program, but wherever you are working or wherever you are going to pursue your higher qualification, make sure you have these important skills under your belt. Analytical capabilities, I talk about the data analytics. Everything comes back to how do you crunch a big amount of data set, make it informative data, and make sure that you are able to get the insight of these data to come up with a better decision making. It all comes back to analyzing the data and making the right decision to make sure your company, your firm is able to maximize the profit, at the same time minimize the risk. There's always two things in the financial services industry: maximize the return and minimize the risk. And the analytical capabilities will help you to attain that thing. Strategic mindset, how you can strategize the operation, and strategy will come into different: how do you minimize the cost for the bank, how do you maximize the profitability for the bank, where the bank should be investing. It's not about just investing in technology, it's all about investing in the right technology. Technology is there, but in order to implement the technology, bank need managers, and managers are not coming from technological background. There are two set of people who work in the financial services industry: one which are the managerial capabilities, and the one which is the tech. Tech is the one who is going to implement the technology concept, what type of technology, the softwares, the solutions the company is going to implement. But what will be the implications of those technology or solution goes back to the strategic decision making of the manager, and people who are finance professional come to do that. And if you do not have the technological know-how, you will not understand which will be the right technology, or why you need a technology to overcome the challenges of the current operation in the company. So you need to have a strategic mindset which will help the organization to reduce their cost and to increase the profitability. And finally, we talk about the leadership, and that comes from not only the leadership. I will talk about the digital leadership, and I think APU is the best place to look into that. Not only you are going to learn in fintech, but since the university, the different schools are integrated so well, that we try to focus on different aspect of it. So we have the School of Business who will be driving the digital leadership capabilities into the fintech professionals. So that's the beauty of the Asia Pacific University, where you are leveraging. For the analytics, we are looking into technology, the School of Actuarial Studies. For the strategic mindset, we are looking from the School of Management, the School of Business, the leadership qualities, and the finance know-how will come from the School of Accounting and Finance. That's the beauty of learning from the different set of the knowledge and putting into your learning, and then putting that into the application step. So always try to choose a university where you can get the mix of all the thing into one place. You cannot work in an industry right now if you do not have the technological know-how, you do not have a strategic mindset, you do not have a good financial application, and you do not carry a digital leadership. So it becomes very important, and that's how the finance jobs has been getting transformed in that. And I can see that this is from the World Economic Forum. These are some of the new jobs which are going to come up, and these are not going to be different sectors. Is going to be application to most of the sectors. Even the financial services industry need data analysts. They need a financial specialists, fintech scientists. You also need AI and machine learning specialists. So you have the knowledge of finance and you have the knowledge of technology like AI and machine learning. You can see that accountants, auditors, operation managers, these are going to be the outdated jobs, and those who are already working, they need to upskill themselves. So that's why if you have graduated with a normal finance and banking degree, you need to upskill yourself with the tech focused financial degrees. And that's why the fintech specialism comes into the practice, and that is going to help you, make you relevant, stay relevant in your job, and help you to grow into your into the organization as well. So those who are going to pursue the masters, make sure you are going to reorganize and retrain yourself. Some of the retraining will be happening with the banks themselves. They are making sure that the employees are getting relevant. But those are who are not putting focus and they are not taking any effort in reskilling themselves. They will be the first one to be retrenched. Unfortunately, if you are not retraining yourself, not reskilling yourself, unfortunately you will be the first person to be retrenched as well. So the recruitment trend is changing. You have to be relevant to the industry. You have to be applying the recent technological trend, recent financial concept, what's happening in the industry in your job places to stay relevant. And that's why learning the new tools, learning the new concept in your area of specialism is very important, and that's how the fintech specialism it will become handy for you in the now. If you look into the course structure, I will going to very much focus on what type of modules you are going to learn. If you look into the fintech program, and I have to emphasize on this, APU is the first university in Malaysia to offer both the undergraduate degree in fintech and now the master degree in fintech. We started last year, even in the time of pandemic. Even we went full-fledged marketing without any promotion, by just word of mouth. We were able to we started with a good number of 6-7 students in our first intake. That was the you can see the interest, those who are going to reskill themselves or want to upskill. In fact, I taught one of my last batch of the fintech student in the master's program, and there was a banker in my class who has worked in the bank for 20 years, and now she is taking a break to upskill herself so she remains relevant to the banking industry. So it is not we are pushing, it's the people who are already working in the financial services industry understand why they need to go for a master's degree in the relevant area of fintech, because that will make them relevant in the job. Now look at the modules which we have to offer. Cybercrime and investigation. We are looking into the cyber security, right? We are having a lot of financial fraud happening in the financial services industry. If you do not understand what are the initials, trend or initial indicator which is going to tell you that okay, the banks can be prone to the financial fraud. That's very important. Maybe your department will be involved in some type of fraud and you might be also looking into investigate that. So we also teach cybercrime and investigation. Financial technology with the module which I teach is the heart and soul, which you will be looking about what I told you earlier, the 42 hours of knowledge which I just summarized in 10 to 15 minutes. That's the whole thing about the financial technology. Not only the financial modules like corporate finance or market institution or international finance, you are learning the big data analytics and technology and AI. And the best thing is that this will be delivered by the expert. They are not coming from finance background, they are coming from a technology background. So the school of technology, school of computing will be assisting the school of finance in running these modules. So the application part you can understand, you will know what are the technology needed and how it can be applied into the financial services. And that is the beauty. It's a combination of the technology as well as the finance, and that makes the fintech program, the master's program, very relevant for your upskilling as well as to help you in further grow in your jobs. Now again, I'm very proud to say that I'm leading a school, and APU is the only university in the country, in fact in the region, which is the first university and currently the only one to offer the master's in finance with a specialism in fintech. You can see that I have just highlighted only there are not many, it can be counted on your fingers, that are not more than 15 universities in the world which are offering a master's in fintech, and we are one of them and the only one in the country and among the selected few in the region. For example, NUS also offer, NTU offers, in Australia there are a couple of universities offers, in Hong Kong they offer, but in Malaysia we are the first. There can be many followers, but but there will be always a follower, they can always look at what we have to offer. So we have learned from the best. We in fact we work with the Fintech Association of Malaysia, and they look at our curriculum, they give input on our curriculum. So our curriculum is industry focused, our curriculum is designed as per the industry requirement, and that is what you should be looking at. So just don't go with the rankings. Ranking is more like a branding, for example, but you also need to know who is offering the program, what is the component of the program, and who is driving the program. Sometimes I feel shy to talk about myself, but it's also important to tell the audience that when you are joining a program, when you're joining a university, make sure there are right people to teach you, there are right people to guide you, there are right people to help you. And fortunately, I'm privileged, I'm honored that I'm one of the top expert in fintech globally. Among the RegTech, which is the regulation of technology, I'm number one. This is weekly ranking, so I have been on number one for many weeks. But I've always been in the top 5 in the world, and this is a global ranking. You can go and search about it from Planet Tech. I have been inducted, the only Malaysian and only the couple of chosen people to be inducted in the Judge Business School. I work as a research affiliate for Judge Business School at University of Cambridge, because we have a think tank, Cambridge Center for Alternative Finance, and we work on global studies. The recent study which came out in the December of 2020 was done in the collaboration with the University of Cambridge, World Bank Group, World Economic Forum, and you can see that my name is there in the research team, and I was the only one from Malaysia and the only one from this region, the Southeast Asia region. So it's not because I'm there, it's because I have an interest, I have contributed to the industry, and that's why I will be the best person to drive the program in the APU. Why? Because I can understand what's happening, and with the interaction of these global team of researchers which I work with the think tank I work with, the World Bank or the World Economic Forum, help me to understand how the industry is transforming, and I am always on the lookout at how I can go and revise the content or bring the content into the curriculum, which will help the students who are learning with us to be the leaders in the fintech knowledge. And they should be going out, and we should be proudly say that they have graduated from APU and they carry the best knowledge. I've also been will be in the top 100 influencer in the world for the fintech, and that's again an annual survey. You can also go and search for me on that by the definitive, and that looking into that. I think I've spoken a lot. I've taken more time what was supposed to be. These are my credentials here. You can always, I'm passionate researcher and a passionate educator. I will happy to see many of you joining us in our program. But even though if you don't join me, you can follow me on my Twitter at Nafis Alam, and you will be seeing what type of discussion I'm driving there. You can follow my post on LinkedIn, and you can follow my articles and books on ResearchGate, and you can always drop me an email on nafis.alam@apu.edu.my, and I will be happy to help you. That's all from me. Lung, you can take over from here. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Nafis. So what a great sharing. All right. Now we're entering to our Q&A session. If anyone actually feel free to drop your question in our comment area. So far actually we actually get some question from from first of all Miss Supriya. With tech trend ABCD in the financial world, can fintech startup can be comprised primarily of tech grads?
This is an interesting area. We always get this question, when we talk about the technology in finance, there is a misconception here. In fact, in APU, we have a fintech program in the School of Technology as well. So you can look from fintech from two perspectives. One perspective is developing the solution or developing the software which is going to help the financial services industry. So these are on the content creation, these are on the solution providers, these are on the platforms for the financial services. But there is another group of people who are going to use the technology trends or going to use the technology tools to be the strategic decision maker for the financial services industry. It will be good to have the blend of both. Now, the tech people who are coming from tech background are mostly in the area of creation or the development or solution providers. They do not have that much know-how. But in APU, we are again very proud to say that when we are learning into the technology school, you are more focused on the creation of the solution and development of the product or the platform. But at the same time, you are also learning about the financial concept. Alternatively, when you are learning for fintech in the school of accounting and finance, you are focused on the finance manager, but also using the tech tools which will be helping you to deliver better, to have a digital leadership, and also to make strategic decision making for the company. So there are two group of people, and when they both come together, they can do wonder for the financial services industry.
Yep. All right. Thank you. So the next question is from Mr. Baba. So what opportunity does fintech offer in terms of developing a truly single digital financial services in market, especially when we talk about banking industry?
See, fintech is an enabler. There are many people who call fintech as a disruptor. I call fintech as an enabler. Fintech is not a disruptor. It is a tool. It is a solution which is enabling the existing financial services to deliver better, to deliver faster, and to deliver cheaper. That's anyone, whether you, me, or anybody who are dealing with financial services. You need financial services to be cheaper, you need financial to be faster, and you need to be 24/7 and economical, right? So in doing that, we are looking into the omni channel. So when we talk about the truly single financial provider, we are going to be the dictator of that. So in the open banking, for example, we will take our data and we will go to the different providers and tell them who will provide the best services to me. I am not bounded by one institution which are going to dictate and maybe offer me an expensive product. For example, if I am a good paymaster, why I should be paying a similar rate which is being paid by a bad paymaster, right? At the moment, bank do not differentiate between the two. Bank has a fixed common rate of the interest or the financing rate for the everybody who's taking a housing loan or taking a higher purchase loan, for example. But if I am a good paymaster, I should be getting it cheaper. So I will be taking my data and I will be going in using the open banking, and I will be telling that, okay, if you don't give me a cheaper solution, I go to another banking. So fintech, again, open banking is also part of fintech. Why? Because it is using the technology, having no branches, and you are using your own data to offer services from the cloud, for example. To yes, it is going to drive, it is going to transform. It's all about transformation, long. We are going to talk about an industry which is going to be completely transformed, where the customer will be the king, and data will help the king to demand for the best services for them.
Yep. Just like everyone have been evolving in fintech, actually, like e-banking, actually we have been using. Last time we have to queue up in the bank to get transaction done, but nowadays we just have a few click in the system, like e-banking platform. All right. So we go to the next questions, like from Chong. With AI infusion in the fintech, how will robot advisor help or affect the job of financial analyst or relationship manager? Last time we used to depend on analysts or broker to conduct analysis and help us in making investment decision. But seems like with AI, we don't need them anymore. Will fintech reduce the job landscape?
I want to correct one thing. There will be not a statement called we don't need them anymore. Definitely, we still need human advisors. Only thing what will happen is the number of human advisors or number of wealth managers in a particular bank will reduce. I'm not saying they are not going to be completely, because robots are robots. Automation is automation. System can go wrong, and if you completely depend on the system, you tend to make mistakes. So definitely you will have human advisors. What will happen, instead of looking at so much of information and crunching the data to get the right decision to invest into the thing, the robo advisory is based on multiple scenarios. It's based on a huge amount of data, and that gives you a predictive analysis that if you invest into a portfolio of these assets, what will be the risk and return will look like. End of the day, you still need humans to make a decision, because in order for robots or the advisory to work, or in order for it to automatically put the portfolio into the investment, you need the decision making, right? The decision maker will come from the human. The number of humans will be reduced. the humans we do not have the right skill to analyze and interpret those output coming from the AI and machine learning, they will be removed. But the people who have the right knowledge and they can identify, in fact, advisory will become more and more productive when humans will be able to use the output of it and make sure that they are using the output for the right decision making. So it will be a mix
Oh,
of both. But the number of humans definitely will be reduced. Number of wealth managers will be reduced. It will be all about the survival of the fittest who have the right skill and the right strategic decision making who will survive in the job market.
yep. So that's why everyone have to actually up to the trend and get the uptrend knowledge for yourself, right?
Definitely.
So I personally actually have one question. Eventually, is all the parents actually have the question of it since technology is coming in, fintech is coming in. So, what are the emerging job actually in the financial service sector?
What are the emerging?
Jobs.
Okay, in financial services, see, the jobs have been transformed. The jobs have not changed much. For example, if you were the wealth advisor, you still remain wealth advisor, but how do you perform your job, that has changed. So again, I want to correct that the jobs have not, there's no new creation of job. You still need a wealth advisor, you still need an insurance advisor, you still need investment managers, you still need to look into the different type of portfolio managers and so on. But how do you perform the job, that services have changed. So you're not going to have any more tailor. I will tell you which jobs will go obsolete. You will not have any tellers in the bank. You will not have any bookkeepers or accountants at a very basic levels. You will not have the people who are going to sell the products online, because you don't need those sales agent to go and sell, because customer can choose the product themselves. And there will be a reduction in the job force. For example, if the bank used to have 1,000 of personnel in the banks, they will be reducing their job forces by at least 30 to 40%. So for every 3 or 4 job, you might be replaced with only one job. So the departments will remain relevant. The job description will remain relevant, but there will be something like data analyst, for example, data analyst especially for the fintech industry, for the financial services industry. You will also have fintech specialists which will look into the different domain of the financial services. How does the companies are taking decision to improve the delivery of the product and services, for example. There will be also the digital leadership, for example, in the financial services industry. Why? Because you need to understand how the digitization is changing the overall scope of the financial services industry. So these will be the new jobs which will be created, apart from the transformation of the existing job, which will require the new skills or upgrading of the existing skills along with the technology trend what is happening there.
Okay, thank you. So maybe we come to one last question, since this is about postgraduate talk. So how important is postgraduate degree or learning is different compared to undergraduate degree?
I always get this as a question. I have been teaching master students for almost 12 years now, and I always get this question. And I give you a very simple example. Modules such as corporate finance, modules such as investment and portfolio are no more different from what the content. The content is no more different from what we teach in the undergraduate program, for example. But the way you learn and the way the programs are delivered is different at the master's level. Master is more about application. Undergraduate is more about knowledge and learning. Masters is more about putting into application. When you understand the concept, how do you react to a particular situation? So master's delivery, master's learning is all about putting the concept into real life application. And that's why when we deliver a program, we don't give you a calculation to do a simple calculation of finance. We give you a scenario, we give you a case study with the concept what you have learned, what type of decision you are going to take which will be beneficial for the firm. And that strategic decision making becomes very important. And that's why when you come into the master's program, and one of the things what I do in my master's program, for especially for the fintech, I bring international speakers. Our last two cohort went through the international workshop with over 20 topics, and the speakers came from all over the world. So we get exposure to the student, so you can learn from the similar application of technology in the Latin America, for example, how they work differently, or it can work in the European Union, for example, differently, and what are the challenges, because these days the workforce are global. If you're working in a global bank like HSBC, you can't say that I don't know what's happening in HSBC UK or what's happening in HSBC America, for example. You need to know that the technology trend, you need to know what are the challenges there, you need to know what's happening on the regulatory side, and that's why the exposure to the global world plus the application of the concept into different settings becomes very important. So you are going to learn among your classmates, plus also with the exposure to the real world application, plus learning from the best. Again, I will not brag about myself. Again, bringing the right people to deliver the modules, learning from the best people in the program, that will be important at the master's level, Lou.
Okay, thank you, thank you. All right, so today's session we're going to end here. So thank you, Prof. Nafis, and so thank you anyone that actually have joining us. So remember, tomorrow we still have a one whole days of session actually going on with more interesting topics starting from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. And we also have open day in our campus. All right, so see you again. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye. Bye everyone.
Bye.